Welcome back to another edition. This is our 11th episode. I think we should call the show Outbound Sales No Fluff after your incredible book that you wrote. So we'll go with that. I'm Ronen Pessar. With me is Ryan Reisert. We're the Outbound Operators. If you enjoyed this show, hit subscribe and also feel free to share a comment below with other topics you want covered. This one will be a two-parter, and we are super excited to get into it. It's going to be a great episode that should sound familiar. So let's dive into it, Ryan.
Let's go. You're all festive.
I am festive. You know, this morning my son had the cutest Thanksgiving play, and this was my most festive Thanksgiving-y type thing. He had a whole song and dance about the Pilgrims. It was adorable.
Amazing.
It's that time of year, but you know what? Although the times of years and the seasons change, for some reason, this topic doesn't, and it is one of our favorites. Today, we're going to talk about the sales acceleration industrial complex. You heard that right. More than that, we're going to get into how it came to be, how it exists, why it's led to a failing outbound and sales strategy for most B2B tech and services companies, and what you can do about it. So Ryan, let's dive right into this one. I think we got to start with where this all kind of began, which I point to Aaron Ross, predictable revenue, being the initial catalyst for how the sales acceleration industrial complex took off. But then they kind of mutated into this thing that VCs have just absolutely poured a ton of money and pulled even more out of. And that's kind of the initial hint of what is it? How did it come to be? And why does it sound so damn ominous?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't blame Aaron Ross and predictable revenue because people have bastardized the crap out of the point of what he was trying to accomplish. People reference that book as if it was something that
Bible.
Yeah. Well, it's not that. It's like they act as if he created that email is the only way to go and like the sequencer concept, which is not really the case. I mean, he talks about specialization and making sure that you have people that are, setting up meetings, and then you have people that are taking the meetings, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, if we go back to how Outbound was done before the sales acceleration industrial complex formed, and why we call it that is the sales acceleration tool space, right? Which is funded by VCs. The industrial complex is that it's just these people feeding it, just like the military industrial complex, right? Like you got to create problems that don't exist to feed this beast, and it just keeps growing on itself. The same thing occurred with these tools, right? Like if you take basic CRM, the way it used to work in the past, like you didn't have a data vendor that plugged into it, right? Like when I started in 2008, there wasn't a lot of options. In fact, data.com, which was used to be called Jigsaw, they acquired it and then built it into Salesforce and killed the concept, was like the only real solution you could go and find. That like Dun & Bradstreet, which people still use today. Like some of these obscure list vendors, like you could go find data, but it's not the way we buy data today, like a ZoomInfo or Apollo or a Seamless or one of these other tools. The best one was Jigsaw, and Jigsaw was done right because it was like this crowdsourced data vendor that in order to get credits, you had to put credits in, and then it was rated. So if you put bad data in the system and someone else used your data, they could flag it, and you would get negative credits, and eventually your stuff's not trusted anymore. If you put good data in and people started to use your credits, you would get more credits. Phenomenal model. I don't know why someone hasn't replicated that these days. Because at the end of the day, you have your CRM. In order to run your CRM and specialization, you have to have lots of data in there, right? Where are you going to get that data? You could buy it from a list vendor, or you have to research it on your own. When I started, it was research your own, right? You go to a website, you get a number, you call the company line, you do the old who's in charge of, you get a name, you put it in there, or you go to conferences, trade shows, events. You get business cards. I used to have bags of business cards that I would take back from conferences, and I would type all that stuff into my CRM.
Oh my God, yeah.
At one point, there was an app someone created where you could scan the card.
Scan it, yeah.
And it
was
like
early OCR technology.
Yeah, but that was that's how you did it. And back then, remember, data was sold as if I have a contact record it was like one email, one phone number. Maybe you would have a direct into mobile, but like it wasn't what we see today, which is okay, we have a CRM. We need data. Now we need to do activity towards that data. Enter the sequencer, enter the auto dialers, the over dialers, the connect and cells, the back in the day, the inside sales.coms. I don't know if you remember that. You could fire off of, I think it's like concert.
I think there's Zant.
It's called, yeah, Zant now. I don't even know if they're still around. Those guys raised a shit ton of money and never went anywhere. And you could see this trend, right? These companies that pop up, and what happens is you got your CRM, you got your data, you got your activities. What do you need? You need more. You need more. You need more. You need more.
More.
And
yeah,
so,
and that's kind of like if you think about the scene in Star Wars, the original ones, when Senator Palpatine, who's the Sith Lord, and he's like, yes, yes. It's like kind of that scene where like the evil puppeteer in the back is like more. And that's what all of these tech companies who are funded by VCs take their money and they go spend it with the other companies that are funded by the same VCs. And there becomes this economy amongst the B2B SaaS companies, technologies and services. And they're spending with each other, which isn't inherently bad, right? There's no good or bad to that. That actually could be, I'm not an economist, but that sounds like a good idea. But what started happening was the strategy for sales, for outbound, to generate new pipeline became arguably one of the worst but most popular strategies, the do more strategy. It's like, well, if I hire more reps, if we make more calls, if we shoot out more emails, if I start now automating, because when you have the do more strategy, your mindset, it's not about strong targeting, message market fit, having conversations, follow up. It's about none of that. It's simply about how do I crank up the knob and get a lot more going? And what that does is it kills quality. It kills the quality of lists being built. It morphs the mind so that the strategy then disseminates across these companies where they're like, I was an SDR at one of these companies, and simply the only thing my CMO and then eventually CRO, who we reported to, cared about were things like number of dials you made a day. Yeah. And when you think about that, that makes no sense. Who cares? That is a meaningless number. I get that it can be a proxy for something else. And then it was number of emails sent a day. And when we learned how to automate that with Yesware, then, SalesLoft and Outreach and all of these sales engagement platforms, which are kind of at the heart of the sales acceleration industrial complex in a lot of ways, not just the data vendors, but it almost feels like they're in cahoots. Right.
Well, no, the best thing they ever did was, Gong kind of led the way with this. I'm not sure if anyone else, Outreach was doing a good job with content ahead of time. Actually, Sales Hacker was acquired by Outreach to become their content engine. But the best thing they ever did was create these playbooks and these strategies and these best practices that these days, I just got off a call today about like, when I was doing this, my goal was to research 10 new accounts, add 50 new prospects to the top of my you got it sequence.
Same.
Sequences. I need to put it in my sequencer. I got to go to sequencer. And then again, we go back to the industrial complex. I got to add more leads to my sequencer. So the KPI is how many new leads did you add into the top of your sequencer. Now you get all these tasks buried up because you start to add 50 people a day and you're supposed to make a call, leave a voicemail, send an email, do a LinkedIn touch, and then wait a couple days, do it again, but 50, 50, 50, 50. In a week, all of a sudden you have 200 plus tasks sitting there, plus you're adding more leads to the top. It becomes this nightmare. So enter in, this is what we did at the sales developers, enter in the most amazing solution ever. Outreach releases its auto send capabilities. It's no manual task anymore. You can just set it to auto send, right? Not just manual task. You actually could just say like, just send it. And then for the call task, let's layer on connect and sell and it will auto dial it for you. So now you just hit a button and it goes to the tune of 1,000 dials and 1,000 emails sent in a day by one rep.
Yep. And
10x, baby.
And you know what?
10x.
You know what? I get it. Like, I did it.
I built it.
You built it. I get it. We all get it. They're not, it wasn't a bad response by the companies who built these tools. It wasn't a bad response by the VPs of sales and CROs and the CEOs and the VCs to try to do that. But what drives me crazy is when, after trying that strategy, what inevitably happens is maybe if you're lucky, you have a short-lived, very short-term success window of results being super awesome with a crash and burn of results not being there. Outcomes, revenue, like show me the money. And instead of responding to that by saying, wait a second, something is off here. Almost every company I was at least surrounded by in the tech bubble at that time, I was in the New York tech scene while you were in the Bay Area tech scene. But all of those companies would typically just respond with, well, let's do more.
Yeah, more.
let's go do more. Let's go do faster more. And then Google, Microsoft, they were the first to say, oh, we don't like this. You're spamming the shit out of our customers. They're spamming the TAM. And suddenly, email filters started to become increasingly complex, aggressive. Suddenly, pickup rates, reach on phone lists plummeted. You even see it now with LinkedIn.
Oh,
yeah. There's a huge amount of anti-technology tool usage on LinkedIn by LinkedIn that try to prevent automation.
Oh yeah, they're pulling it out. You can't even send DMs to people who requested DMs at a too fast of a rate, or they'll block you. Right? You just responded to people who requested, who said, "Hey, send me that, please." And you go, I mean, they should have the data to know, hey, this is somebody on my platform that commented over here. I'm engaging over here. Oh, nope, not allowed. You can't go in there and do that. And the challenge with all of this is that what happens with the data that you provide into these systems, whether you're sequencing, parallel dialing, whatever you might be doing, is that you're trying to solve the same problem in a really terrible way, right? And the problem that you're trying to solve for is you want to reach the person where they can be reached. Ideally, that's what you're doing. That's why you do multi-channel outreach, right? Target, message, channel timing, which is what fundamentally is broken with these sequence strategies. You call out the Agogi sequence, the interseller, the whatever the hell they call them, right? The 27 touch point over 35-day sequence, thinking that the actual multi-channel is making a difference, and it's not. What you're doing is you're identifying the channel that you can actually reach the person in. There are the edge cases where one elicits another, right? You can compound a voicemail to an email to elicit responses. It does work if it's targeted, timely, and relevant, but it's a false hit, right? It's like that didn't necessarily respond to that. There's a signal of it that sometimes people will take action on, like, oh, this person is coming over the top of me. But if you actually look at analyzing the information associated with most of the responses when you do that, they're typically in the negative zone, meaning you get a response, but it's mostly like, thanks for reaching out. I'm not interested at this time, for the ones that know they want to get you off the list. Or it's the age old, most of us see, unsubscribe, one word. Take me off your list, right? No thanks.
Yeah, exactly. The unsubscribe is the best. Yeah, it really is.
Unsubscribe. There's just one word, unsubscribe. I'm getting a high response rate.
Yeah, so, exactly.
But the thing is, now you're powering this data engine. The tools are saying, hey, you know what? Your connect rate sucks, so let's just give you more phone numbers to call. Does that even make any sense? Like, if I was a data vendor selling phone data, why are you selling me 4, 5, 6 numbers? I want the one number that's for that person. I don't want all the numbers. Like, why are you giving me all the numbers? Because they know it's bad. They don't even
and it's a credit-based system. They all make money by selling more credits, doing more activity. This is how they're all wired and designed.
But if they went back to the jigsaw model, it would solve the problem, right?
It sure would. And that's actually a really interesting idea, Ryan. But one thing I want to point out is that when you think about how would someone, without all of this context, respond in that scenario if that someone is, let's say, a VP of sales, a CRO, they have a short-term goal. Every head of sales I've ever met in my life is just thinking about this quarter. I've yet to meet any who think beyond that. Maybe there's the rare exception here or there where people are thinking a little bit longer term. And what you see is the short-term response strategically to what do we do to grow sales is do more. Because when you don't think long, thinking long is just a super popular topic these days in the world of strategy in any field. But when you don't think long, your options become like severely reduced. You don't have a lot left. And outbound is a long-term strategy.
Yeah.
It is predicated, the success of it is predicated on the fact that I can reach the right target, have a conversation with them, and learn, is what I'm doing going to be relevant for you ever? And if so, when? And then follow up and follow up and follow up and follow up. And it's only in the follow up with good targeting done up front and good communication and having a script that is consistent. We've talked about this in past shows where we talk about how it's conversational advertising. It's like an ad that I get served up is going to be consistent across all the people who get served the ad. So should my call script. And so when that gets delivered to the target, to the prospect in this case, now I can get a response similar to an ad. Did they click? Did they scroll past? Did they stay and watch? Same thing. Did my prospect engage with me? Is it a yes, no, not me, not now? And I can follow up accordingly. And when you do this over the course of 12 plus months with a good system that simplifies the follow up, simplifies identifying where a prospect is, what you will see happen is a lot of those prospects in the follow up will be ready eventually to actually engage with you as a potential buyer. And that cannot be done usually in a 1 quarter focus. So long-term strategy gets thrown out the window, and instead it's just do more, make more calls.
Well,
Let's force our way through it.
Jeb Blunt calls it the 90-day rule, I think, or the rule of 90. But it's like, if you are looking at your results today, whether they're positive or negative, mostly it's negative, it's the result of what you did 90 days ago.
Yeah.
Right.
He talks about the fanatical prospecting.
It's in fanatical prospecting, and most reps and teams and leaders, etc., they're always focused on right now, and they're having a slower month. They're like, I'll do more now. And it's like, well, you can't actually make up for what you're like right now. You can do more now, but you're going to see the impact in 90 plus days. And depending on the sales cycle, it could be even longer. The big kicker here, though, is that the challenge with all of this is that we've created so much resistance with the people that are receiving these messages that they've put up such a strong wall. I use that example of even what's happened in retail. When you walk into a retail shop and the sales associate walks up to you and says, how can I help you today? It's like, no, I'm good. I'm just looking.
Yeah, thanks. Just browsing.
I'm just looking. I don't know why that's an initial response to us. It's like a human response to us, but that's like 10 times now when someone receives a call, receives an email, gets even a LinkedIn DM. It's just like you're waiting for that annoying person to get in your face and be like, let me give you a demo. Let me give you a demo. Let me pay for a demo. Now it's the gifting stuff. Let me gift you a demo. It's like we've completely forgotten about the intent of our outreach, right? You're a company. You're a company that I think has a problem I can solve. You're a person within this company that likely is doing a job that isn't as efficient as it could be with us, or is more expensive, or is kind of risky without us. Like we can help you, be more efficient, save some money, make you some more money, or reduce your risk. Like these are kind of the things that we do. I'm not sure if you're there now, but I'm just here to educate you on like things that are different in the market versus, hey, come take a meeting. Because like my sales team's so fucking lazy, they can't do this in the first place. So now you have this, going back to the whole start of this, you have these junior people with the outcome being, I have to get you into a meeting right now, Ronen, or it's a failure. And that combined with all this other bullshit is what's caused so many problems in the market. Like I can't get somebody on the phone and have a genuine conversation with them to understand where they're at in their journey about solving this problem, or maybe an awareness of they even have the problem, when the person that's making the call only cares about trying to get you to commit some time to come and see a fucking demo. No one wants to see a fucking demo, right? And then, by the way, they call and say, let's take a demo. And then the salesperson's like, I'm not doing a demo. I have to do discovery. And then there's this mismatch there too, because you're not even going to see anything. And then the sales rep doesn't pay attention to that. What was said, even if you did a good job of having a conversation, they don't pay attention. They just show up. Some of these companies, they're so stacked, they don't even know who they're meeting with. Like they're missing meetings. Like they're literally scheduled on their calendar, and then they're missing meetings. They're not showing up to the meetings. Their prospects there, like, hey, I'm waiting in your room. Oh, my other meeting went long. Like you reached out to them. They actually took the time to show up, and you didn't show up to the meeting. Like this is stuff that's happening day in, day out because of this bullshit. Like you got to somehow keep everyone so busy with all these meetings that don't freaking matter. And then there's this disconnect on what the intention of is even getting them into the conversation in the first place. And for some reason, after all of that, the sales reps still don't follow up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Still don't
And
follow up.
Ryan, you're hitting it on the head here, which is to summarize this whole episode by saying when outbound becomes busy work, it's a guaranteed recipe for failure. And that's what happened, for the last 15 years or so in the B2B SaaS world, the B2B sales world, focused on let's just dramatically dial up the volume. It's essentially just creating a bunch of busy work because that does not come with the same level of quality. And you know what? This is probably a great stopping point, but also to say we should do a two-parter on this. So in the next episode, why don't we cover the solution, the way that we prescriptively go against what people would say is the grain, but in a successful system that creates actual long-term revenue for companies that would benefit from cold calling from outbound. We could do that in the follow-up episode as a two-parter. But let's wrap this one up. Ryan, I don't know if you have any final thoughts that you want to end this with, but the last thing that I'll say is if you are thinking about how do I dramatically increase my pipeline, my qualified opportunities and revenue, I'm a sales leader, and you're gravitating towards the do more strategy, that should be a sign to slow down and pause and just answer one question. Am I trying to solve something for this month, this quarter, or am I actually thinking long term? And if it's not long term, go back to the drawing board. Reach out to us. We're happy to talk you through some strategies that you can use, but it's likely not going to succeed.
Don't spam your TAM.
Don't spam your TAM. All right, I'm Ronen Pessar, and with me is Ryan Reisert. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe, drop a comment below, let us know what other topics you want us to cover, and we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.